Yo, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Booming Basketball channel. As per usual, I'm Nate here with Danny.
Yo.
Today, we're going to be doing a little bit of a fun hypothetical video, and that is going to be redrafting the 2021 NBA draft. Basically, how this is going to work is we're going to be doing this off of fit, potential, and how good they are right now. So there's some players in this that might be a little higher just because me and Danny are still pretty high on them potential-wise. And yeah, I mean, it's all a matter of opinion, and you can disagree and let us know your thoughts in the comments, what you agree with or disagree with.
Do you want...
Do you want to go now? And
Yeah, I'll go one, and then we could just go back and forth.
so this is going... Okay, thanks.
Sorry.
So for this, we're going to be doing just the lottery because there are obviously a lot of picks in the draft, and doing 30 or the whole entire first and second round would be a little bit of a longer video, and there's not really enough notable players to be doing all of that right now. So we're going to be doing the lottery, and that is going to be starting off back with the number one pick in that draft, who were the Detroit Pistons.
With the first pick in the draft, we got the Detroit Pistons selecting Cade Cunningham. Nothing changes here. Cade's the best player in the draft. It's the best fit. It makes the most sense. He has the most potential out of anybody in the draft. I just don't really think it's an argument, Nate.
I mean, yeah, no, they're not going to get an argument from me here. We both agreed on Cade as still being the number one guy. He has probably the highest ceiling out of anyone. And also right now, even though he's coming off an injury, he was showing that he could be a very, very good player. The field goal percentages were down a bit from where you like to see them. Shooting Jalen Green percentages a little bit. But I think the tools and intangibles are all there with Cade, and he's proven in spurts that he can really, really be dominant. It's just a matter of time before he gets better. And then you look at the Team USA camps, actually, that just came out recently. Coaches and players have been saying that he's been one of the best players in all of the practices despite being on the select team. The second pick is where it gets to be a little more tricky, even though I don't think it's tricky. The Houston Rockets, we have them selecting Evan Mobley with the second pick in the 2021 draft. And that's really just because of the fact that he's been better so far in his career than Jalen Green. And at that point, they did not have Jabari Smith or Şengün, who is also in this draft. So getting Mobley to solidify that power forward or center position, and also, you know, that doesn't coincide or conflict with KPJ, who I assume at that point then they would go and try to build around more, but it does help out that problem that they have now with the logjam at guards. So Evan Mobley for us is the pick at number 2.
Yeah, not really much else to say, but these hypothetical things do get me thinking, because I feel like Evan Mobley, like if he had gotten drafted to Houston, he would have the team to basically himself when he got there, and I feel like he would have taken steps even sooner than we think he will in real life with the Cavs, and he'd be in a different situation. And it's just crazy to think about. Like, Evan Mobley could be like a top 20 player in the NBA right now if he got drafted to Houston. It's all.
I mean, I'm not sure if I'm going to go there. I almost think that the Cavs have helped him with his development because he hasn't had to do that much.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Clearly a little limited with his offensive bag, but regardless, I think as of right now, most people would be taking Evan Mobley over Jalen Green, despite Jalen Green still having a lot of potential. So second pick, Evan Mobley.
So with the third pick in the 2021 NBA draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to select Franz Wagner. Now, there can be a debate here between Josh Giddey, Franz Wagner, Scotty Barnes, Jalen Green, those types of guys, but I just feel like Franz is really the best fit here. He's a pure scorer, and Cleveland had Darius Garland at the time, and obviously they still do have Darius Garland, but they had Darius Garland already, so they didn't really need a playmaker in someone like Josh Giddey, and they needed scoring at the time.
Yeah, and they still do need scoring. So, I mean, Franz would go right in there, obviously, with them not being able to select Mobley because he went to Houston at 2. So getting Franz a long wing who can play solid defense, move the ball around, not be a ball hog, but also put the ball in the basket and shoot the 3-ball well next to a great playmaker like Darius Garland, I think that fit would be, a match made in heaven if they weren't able to get Evan Mobley. So instead of going with a guy like Giddey, as you said, to get another playmaker who would maybe interfere a little bit with Garland, I think that going with Franz Wagner here, maybe even though he's not the best player, would still be better fit-wise, and it's not too far off skill-wise that I don't think it would be a blasphemous pick or anything.
Yeah, and of course, if this happened, we might not have even seen the Donovan Mitchell trade happen. So it would be a different world, bro.
Going on to the fourth pick is the Toronto Raptors, and for them, we're going back to a guy we just talked about, and that's going to be Josh Giddey, who we have them selecting over Scottie Barnes, who was originally their pick at number 4. Really, it just comes down to the fact that me and Danny are bigger fans of Josh Giddey's game than Scottie Barnes, at least at this current moment in time, and honestly, potential-wise too. I think that he's one of the more underrated players in the league also right now. They needed a playmaker and a wing and someone that could, help out Fred VanVleet in the guards with the ball handling playmaking load. Josh Giddey does that as well as any guy for his size in the league, and slotting him in there at the point guard or shooting guard and having Fred run off ball, who would have obviously there at the time. Now he's not, but he would have been there at the time. I think that could have worked nicely, and it just comes down to, Danny, that we think that Scottie Barnes isn't going to be as good as Josh Giddey in the long run. It's not really a slight to Scottie. It's just Josh Giddey is really, really good.
Yeah, it also goes into terms of fit, and obviously we have a better point of view on it because we've seen how these guys have panned out and we've seen flashes of their potential. And someone like Josh Giddey just increases the performance of his teammates as any good teammate does. But we would really definitely be seeing a different Fred VanVleet than the 40% shooting Fred VanVleet that we've seen the past 2 years. We would definitely see a different Fred VanVleet. It would be better shot selection, I feel like, and it would be so much better for his game.
Yeah, it's just Toronto's had a very erratic offense for the past few seasons, and having a guy like that can come in, control the pace, and really distribute at a high level would definitely be something that's huge for Toronto and something they've been missing for the past few seasons. So Josh Giddey's going to be the pick there at number 4 for the Raptors.
With the 5th pick in the 2021 NBA draft, we have the Orlando Magic selecting Scottie Barnes. This, of course, was the originally pick that they took Jalen Suggs with, and that just didn't seem to be a good idea. They get a wing, and for an already guard heavy team, it's just, in terms of fit, it's the right pick. In terms of talent, it's the right pick. And because a few people may argue that Scottie Barnes should have gone sooner in this draft than we say. So more people might think that he has more potential than we think he has.
I mean, I still think he's the 5th pick. It's not really slighting him. It's just that there's 4 really, really good players above him. And, Scottie going to Orlando, they wouldn't have Franz at that point in this draft, obviously, so they'd be lacking in that wing department. He would slide in there, be another playmaker, a guy that can handle the ball. It's something that it would probably end up working out. I don't think that Scottie being in Toronto was the make or break thing, but he would definitely be forced to, put the ball on the floor more and not have as many teammates like he did with the Raptors. So I don't know how it would work out necessarily for his development. Probably wouldn't ended up winning Rookie of the Year in my opinion. But, Scottie Barnes still has a boatload of potential, and his defense is probably better than any guy in the top 5 that isn't named Evan Mobley.
Yeah, I mean, that defensive front court on Orlando would be really solid with Scottie Barnes and Wendell Carter Jr.
Yep.
It would have been exciting to see, and they would have probably had they probably would have had the best defensive front court, best young defensive front court in the NBA.
I was about to say, because Brook Lopez and Giannis exist.
Yeah. No, I know. Yeah, best young defensive front courts in the NBA, and I just think in terms of fit, if Scottie Barnes was a member of the Orlando Magic, I think that he probably could have developed his offensive game more in his first 2 seasons than he did with the Toronto Raptors, behind Fred's horrible shot selection and efficiency and guys like that kind of taking the offensive load above him.
Yeah, and now seemingly that they have their answers figured out, at least somewhat, at point guard with Markelle Fultz and Cole Anthony, instead of having Jalen Suggs, that 3 mix. And now Anthony Black, obviously, who they would go on to draft this year. It just would create a lot more space, at least for them position-wise, and it would give them someone on the wing that they could have to build around, because obviously not having Franz, you like to have a wing that can at least defend, play multiple positions, put the ball on the floor, and Scotty Barnes is very good at doing that. He has that point forward skill set, so I think that would fit a lot more beautifully than Jalen Suggs happened to be. The next team up is the Oklahoma City Thunder, who originally took Josh Giddey, and now we are going to be having them take the former number 2 pick in Jalen Green, mainly because, Shea wasn't the superstar that he, is now in that before that 2021 draft, so they were still looking again for another scoring punch or a guard to go alongside Shea, which is why they took Giddey. Obviously, Giddey more of a pass-first guy, but Jalen Green obviously the best player available, I think, potential-wise right now at this point. He was the 2 pick, so I'm not going to put him any lower than the 6.
I agree with the pick only because Shea didn't break out into stardom until, he wasn't broken out into stardom yet.
Yep.
So, like you said, they were looking for another scoring guard, but I was kind of between Jalen Green and Alperen Sengun here, only because the Thunder haven't really had a solid big man since the Steven Adams days.
Yeah.
So I do think that Jalen Green is the right pick here, only because I do think Jalen Green has the potential to be better than Alperen Sengun. I think that Jalen Green still has the potential to be a top 3 player in this draft. It's just the thing about the shot selection and the shooting percentages.
And I think a lot of that just comes with him being on a young, undisciplined team. Honestly, if he had went to OKC, I think he probably would have been a lot more disciplined coming in, and his percentages probably wouldn't be as gross. Nonetheless, even though his percentages aren't good, he's still a 20-point-per-game scorer at like 21 years old. So it's like he does clearly have the skills to be an elite scorer. It's just, getting more mature and learning how to play more within himself and letting the game come to him rather than forcing bad shots. So I think he's proven enough to still be worth the 6th pick.
So with the 7th pick in the 2021 NBA draft, we have the Golden State Warriors selecting Alperen Sengun. This, of course, is the original spot where they took Jonathan Kuminga. Now, if they had picked Sengun, that would be very, very, very interesting, knowing that Sengun is going to develop into a very solid big man in this league. And with the Warriors and just like the development and the staff around him and having all these good role models around him, I just like, it would be scary, man. I don't even know how to put it into words. It would be different.
Well, the thing is, too, is Sengun loves passing the ball and is a terrific team player. And we know the Warriors love skilled big men who can pass the ball.
Baby Jokic.
Draymond, Andrew Bogut was very much like that when he was back then with the Golden State Warriors, who I thought was an incredibly underrated player with his time there. Steve Kerr called him one of the most incredible or most talented passing bigs he's ever seen. And obviously, he's not Bogut, but he's a very solid rebounder, can move the ball, shoot from the outside even a little bit. I think it would have been a dream fit for him to be in Golden State. I still have a lot of hope for him in Houston, but looking back on this, I think it'd be a no-brainer pick for the Warriors. The next pick up is the 8th pick. Again, the Orlando Magic. They got this pick from the Chicago Bulls from the Wendell Carter Jr. trade. And Vucevic, that was a terrible trade for the Bulls, obviously, looking back on it. I mean, terrific fleece job there by the Magic, and the Magic has something really brewing there. But in this hypothetical land, we have them selecting Quentin Grimes with the 8th pick. Normally, it would have been, obviously, we saw them take Franz with that pick at number 8. But now Franz is in Cleveland at 3, and they have Scotty Barnes with their 1st pick. So Scotty Barnes and then taking Quentin Grimes, who would already probably be the best shooter on the Magic team. So you have Quentin Grimes there, someone that can play defense and shoot the ball, something that Orlando has lacked. They haven't had a very good defense in a very long time, and they also don't have a lot of shooters, especially at that time. Their best shooter this season was Gary Harris, who was not even close to that at that point. I don't even know if he was on the team during this draft. But so Quentin Grimes, I think, would come in there perfectly at the starting shooting guard position next to whatever point guard they want to run. We talked about how they had some depth there at point guard with Markelle Fultz and Cole Anthony. So, you have that, and I don't know. I think Quentin Grimes would be the perfect fit for them there. We wouldn't have Kuminga going in this spot, even though he may be the more talented or potential-wise player. But, drafting Kuminga alongside Scotty Barnes would be a little redundant.
Yeah, I like the Grimes pick here because, like you had mentioned, Grimes and the additions of Grimes and Scotty Barnes in this draft add a lot of defense to a team that was struggling defensively at the time. And drafting Grimes also adds another shooter. Like you said, I also don't know if Gary Harris was on the team at the time, but Quentin Grimes would be, if not the best shooter on the team currently. And I just think that would be the right pick. With the 9th pick in the 2021 NBA draft, we have the Sacramento Kings selecting Jonathan Kuminga, Cumbucket. They originally took Davion Mitchell with this pick. Still not a bad pick, but we do have him going a little bit later in this draft. Spoiler alert. Jonathan Kuminga, it would have been better. It would have been a better fit, only because they somewhat lack, defensive ability in terms of, well, no, not somewhat
Big
lack
time.
not somewhat lack defense. Yeah, they lack defense big time. They were one of the worst defensive teams in the league last year and one of the best offensive teams in the league last year. And I just don't even think that they would have a thought of drafting Davion Mitchell, just in terms of like how good Fox was last season. Even though that the two don't directly correlate with each other, I just don't think that they would have drafted Davion if they had known that De'Aaron Fox was going to be on an absolute burner last year.
Well, also, and the fact of the matter is that there's just other players that kind of shot off the board, and Kuminga, I think at the time, or now even regardless, is obviously seen as having more potential as Davion Mitchell, and with how fast that team likes to play, it's no brainer. I mean, Kuminga running with that team would be absolutely perfect. He's one of the most athletic players in the league, and he gets more points off cuts, like his percentage of points that come from cuts is higher than anyone else in the NBA. So,
well, the thing is, right now, obviously he's in a spectacular offense. The Warriors have had one of the best offenses in the leagues for the past decade almost.
But he'd be more of a focal point for the Kings.
Exactly, because he doesn't really fit with the Warriors' scheme of shooting the basketball, because he's not the most efficient shooter. He would have fit much better with a slashing Kings team.
The next pick up is the 10th pick, which was originally owned by the New Orleans Pelicans before they traded Steven Adams and that pick for Jonas Valanciunas, and the Grizzlies ended up taking Zaire Williams originally. Zaire Williams has not had the greatest first 2 seasons so far, and he's definitely not going to be the pick we have here in the redraft. That's going to be Austin Reeves, who originally went undrafted and is probably one of the most talked about players now from this draft. He's 25 as we stand now and was one of the older players in that class. So I think that a lot of is what makes him lower on the list, and also because I think that he's already reached a good amount of his potential, but he's still a very good player and deserves to be drafted well into the lottery, and especially a lot more than being undrafted.
Yeah, and honestly, Austin Reeves is just overall the best pick here in terms of like what the Grizzlies needed at the time. And I guess that you could just argue that they really just needed a scorer, having Jaren already in the paint, and the team was already fine defensively. So I just think that taking Austin here is just the best pick that you can make, and I think either they would trade the pick if they were in this predicament, or just take Austin Reeves for the best talent available.
Moving on to pick number 11 is where the Charlotte Hornets originally took James Bouknight, aka the guy that passed out in his car while eating Doritos with a loaded gun on his lap. So, if you couldn't guess, he's not going to be taken here in the redraft, and rather we're going to be taking Herb Jones for the Hornets, a competent decision that they are not capable of making themselves. Maybe that'll change now that Michael Jordan's out of the ownership and they're going to have a whole new regime there, but I digress. Herb Jones is an incredible defender and really one of the best young defenders in the NBA, and the Hornets are an absolute trash dumpster fire defensive team, so I really think that it just, makes perfect sense to get a very good defender for a team that can't guard a traffic cone.
Yes, I agree with the whole defensive rant 100%. Herb Jones, it's the right pick here, and Charlotte really they were in a different spot than they are now. They were in a much different spot in this season, and this, of course, was the season that Mikal Bridges broke. Jeez, Mikal Bridges, bro. Miles Bridges, bro. Damn. How did I respond to you? Would you finish off saying?
I don't remember.
No, I do.
Okay, go.
Yeah, Nate, so I agree with the whole defensive rant that you're going on about. Herb Jones is definitely the right pick here. Of course, the Hornets were in a different spot back then when they would have picked him. This was, of course, the season that Miles Bridges broke out, and, well, we know what the situation is now. But if they had taken Herb Jones here, they would have had a much more solid young core, I guess, in terms of that they would have actually known that they were going to be the 3 guys that they were going to build around long term, barring Miles Bridges hitting people.
Yeah, it would have been nice for them to have a young wing tandem in Bridges and Jones, solidifying that 2 and 3 position, or even the 3 and 4 if they kept Bridges at the power forward spot. But, they do lack that wing depth other than, Gordon Hayward, which I don't think is their plan to keep him long term. So Jones would have solved a pretty big problem for the Hornets. The next team we have up is the number 12 pick, who is originally the San Antonio Spurs. And they took a guy by the name of Josh Primo, who he decided to take his penis out in front of a team doctors, or a team doctor. And so no, we are not selecting the penis man. Josh Primo is not going to be picked in this draft at all, actually, for a matter of fact. It's actually going to be Trey Murphy III, and as far as I know, he has not taken his penis out in front of any doctors. So, let's all give Trey Murphy a round of applause right there for controlling.
It's already a better pick. It's already a better pick than Josh Primo.
He's got
just off the simple fact that he doesn't take his dick out.
A better head on his shoulders and other part than Primo seems to have. But enough with the penis jokes. Trey Murphy is a very, very good player. He just had his best season, obviously only 2 years in the league, but he emerged as a sophomore riser, didn't face a slump at all, and is one of the better, shooting wings in the league. He's also very athletic, and he can score from all 3 levels. He's not elite at all 3, but he's shown potential to be a very, very good starter at the 3 or 4 position. And, the Spurs don't have a lot of that wing depth like some of these other teams that we talked about. It's really just Devin Vassell and Keldon Johnson. So having Trey Murphy there, and then Jeremy Sohan, obviously, he came along last year. But I still think that Trey Murphy would fit in very well with this Spurs team who likes to move the ball, and he's great at, off-ball movement and catching and shooting.
Yeah, it definitely is the right pick. In Pop's system, Trey Murphy would thrive completely. He would thrive. And that's mainly due to ball movement and his shooting ability. And I honestly feel like if the Spurs did draft Trey Murphy here, they may not have absolutely turned into a dumpster fire in order to get Victor Wembanyama. Not saying that Trey Murphy is Victor Wembanyama at all.
But I don't know if Trey Murphy's made the difference between them being the worst team in the league and not. But
no.
I think
no. But I'm saying they may not. The DeJounte trade may not have ever happened. And multiple
I doubt Trey Murphy's moving the needle like that, but I still think he would put them in a better position than they are right now. Because anything is better than Josh Primo, okay?
Exactly.
Anything is better than Josh Primo.
I could have taken you over Josh Primo, and it would have been a better pick. Thank you. So with the 13th pick in the NBA draft, we have the Indiana Pacers selecting Davion Mitchell, and here it kind of just goes to best available. And Davion Mitchell, of course, is going to develop into an elite defender. He already is an elite defender. And originally the Pacers took Chris Duarte here, which was not a terrible pick. In my opinion, he would just fall out of the lottery in this draft. Nate, what are your thoughts on the pick?
I mean, yeah, Duarte wasn't a bad pick at, that point. But I think they kind of went on an NBA-ready player because I think the Pacers thought that they were going to be better for longer. That didn't happen, and they're kind of in a rebuilding stage now. So having a younger player like Davion would fit that timeline more so, and also would maybe allow them to move on from TJ McConnell, because I know he has some value around the league as a bench point guard. So moving Davion there, and obviously he's a very, very good defensive player. It'd be funny to see Tyrese and Davion on another team together, because they were obviously already together on Sacramento, but. He would have been a very, very good player regardless, defensively, at least wherever he was drafted. And I think at this point, he's by far the best player available. So Davion at 13 makes sense.
So with the final pick of the lottery here, we got the Golden State Warriors. They are also going to go with best available here in Jalen Suggs. I also think that it is a good fit because the Warriors were in need at the time of a good defensive point guard. And Suggs is that, exactly that.
And yeah, he's also athletic. He can push the pace. This Warriors team obviously likes to get after it and score the ball. he's someone that can handle it well, and he showed a lot of flashes in his second year after a very, very, struggled. He struggled a lot in his rookie year. He shot 36% from the field, 21% from three. I think a lot of that was just him not being NBA ready at the time, and the Warriors have been terrific developing young guards. Even like if you want to hate on Jordan Poole, they still developed him after he was picked 28th in the draft. So they've had a lot of success here with their guards, Steph, Clay, Gary Payton, finding gems and diamonds in the rough. So I think that Jalen Suggs would have been a very, very good fit here for the Warriors, and he was a top 5 pick originally. So based on potential wise, I still think there's a lot there.
And man, I'm telling you, the Warriors' young core would have been crazy. They would have had Poole, Suggs, and if we are living in this universe, they would have had Şengün too. And like you said, we know how good the Warriors are at developing young talent. They would be set, man. They would be set.
Yeah. That is going to be the entire 2021 NBA redraft complete. And here on the screen now, we'll show you the entire thing if you guys did miss it or skip through the video at all. But as always, we really hope you guys did enjoy watching this video. And if you want to stay tuned, follow us for more basketball content. All of our social media links are in the description. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Tell us if you want us to redraft any other years. We're happy to do it. And comment what your thoughts are on this draft. We're happy to engage with you guys and give some ideas a shout if you guys have anything you want to see from us. As always, I'm Mate and this is Danny. We'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace
Sir,
out.
you have a little bit of poop inside your testicles.